talking about, was was going to be compromised, and that the information and knowledge of who these people were was lost, or would be completely lost if they didn't do something about it. Not only was that information lost, but who the Anglo-Saxons really were would be lost, and in all that information and libraries had to be protected. At first, this library of information was held very secretly. Then it became open, and in 1919 an organization was formed to protect this body of knowledge. It was housed in the royal family of England's property. And I don't know that it was Westminster Abbey, but it might have been. And it was moved out of that into another location because there was fear that the establishment was moving the wrong direction and that the geopolitical events were going to occur that often happen when geopolitical events occur, where there's a takeover. Oftentimes they burn the library, like they did in Alexandria, Egypt. So they moved the library. This organization now, which I am very familiar with, has a vigorous debate among it, of which some say that there is no compromise in the monarchical system. And then there's others of us in the group, like myself, that believe that now they are compromised, but this body of knowledge still needs to be protected. Since that time, it had been asked that another organization like this be started in the United States, and it has, and it was moved to the Ozarks. Now, they still exist in England. They still are there, and that organization protects a body of knowledge of who the Anglo-Saxon is. Now, what does this have to do with the mission? This story that Bill was talking about was that they're taking a racist view to wipe out China. Well, remember what I said? You're the middle brother, and you throw a rock at the older brother, and then you point to the younger one that he did it. They've taken over, they being the Nephilim, the reptilians, have taken over the monarchical rule. They're throwing a rock, and then they're pointing at the Anglo-Saxon and saying, see, they're racist. Do you see what I'm saying now? They're like walk-ins on these Anglo-Saxons' body that have taken them over. Only they've literally genetically taken them over, and the genetic code won't let them behave proper. So where this meeting occurred happened to be in the city of London, where already established by these Nephilim and these bodies of people that came from that group is a financial system. The city of London, folks, is not just a historical, traditional, old place of tradition. It's literally a nation city-state. It's like the Vatican. It doesn't report to England. It doesn't report to London. It's not London. It's called the City of London, and its main purpose is to house the Bank of England, which, by the way, is not run by the Queen. It's run by an exchequer that reports to the Vatican. And when the Queen goes into the City of London, she has her entire court of people come with her, and it's a very formal, and she bows to them. So something's up, right? It's because it's run by the bad guys. And this meeting of these people was what that guy attended, saying that the Anglo-Saxon mission is this little buzzword they kicked around. But actually, yes, right now the monarchies are compromised. I've been asked, well, when were they compromised? Well, I can say this. The historical reason for the monarchy is well established, and that's to protect who was here from having been taken over politically and, of course, being, overthrown a lot of times just by de facto. And the de facto is today, if you got the gun, you can take over. But probably the Queen Mother wasn't. Her death was in 2002, and she was 101 years old. More than likely, Queen Elizabeth by the way, Queen Elizabeth I, we call her the Queen Mother, passed away in 2002, was probably the last one. Now, it's interesting that since her coronation ended and Queen Elizabeth II took over in the 50s, that the stone of destiny for the rulers that all of them in England have been crowned upon while they've been sitting on this stone was moved. It was moved to Scotland, in 1996. Now, it's real interesting, too, that when the financial collapse occurred in late 2008, there had been 666 months since the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. Prince Charles will not be king. He will not be coronated. But his sons, Prince William Arthur Philip Louis Windsor is his name. He's a Windsor. But he had only de facto right to the throne. This was a takeover. So they had to do something to give him the de jure right back to the Windsors somehow. And so they managed to bring Diana from the family of Stuart into this diabolical, wicked man called Prince Charles, this devil of a man, whom she was scared to death of after she figured him out, and after he murdered her through arrangements, giving his son William then the de jure right through the Stuarts of becoming the king. He will be the crowning king. Even Charles, upon the death of his grandmother, Queen Mother, in 2002, basically said his hopes of being crowned king had been dashed. And he feared that he won't be, and that he's kind of resolved himself to it, but he still is very powerful and very influential. So, I'm going to talk to you about the Anglo-Saxon, and it's not who you think it is. See, a lot of terminology, just like Jordan Maxwell talks about, is right in front of our eyes that tells us exactly who the Anglo-Saxons might be, just as well as who the system and the beast is, and all of these terminologies and words actually give us clues. For example, the word Anglo-Saxon, right in front of you is this word called Saxon. Well, that means son of something. So if it's the son of Isaac, which is what Saxon stands for, then how come they're not Jewish? Well, because the Ashkenazi Jew is not the Israel of the ancient Israel. The Anglo-Saxon is. That's why you have the Union Jack flying over England. No, this was not brought into England after England got taken over by the reptiles and they wanted to claim it. It's always been there. The Union Jack was the standard flown over the 12 tribes of Israel in the desert when they were camping out, having left Egypt, that gave them a standard to rally around to put their camps up. And so it was called the Standard of Jacob, the Union Jack that united them. Jacob is the name. It was Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob. And Jacob's name was turned into Israel. And that stone of destiny is also called the Stone of Jacob. So, I want to tell you how you can look into this a little bit more and understand a little bit more about who we're talking about, oftentimes this